Hey YouTube family, welcome to another episode of Stick Shift Stories. In today's episode, we're going to be taking a deep look at the SN95 Mustang built from 1994 through 2004. And we want to know, is this generation of Mustang any good and should you buy one? Stay tuned because this is going to be a super interesting episode on one of America's most iconic vehicles. The Ford Mustang was named after the legendary P-51 Mustang fighter plane from World War II. Ford introduced the public to the Mustang at the World's Fair in Flushing Meadows, New York on April 17, 1964. And the vehicle was an immediate success. The public loved the styling, and within the first 2 years, there were over 1 million Mustangs sold. The SN95's older brother is the third generation Ford Mustang, commonly referred to as the Fox body Mustang. These were built by Ford from 1978 until 1993. Did you know that Ford almost turned the Mustang into a front-wheel drive vehicle on 2 separate occasions? In the middle of the 1980s, Ford had spent a lot of time and money developing a front-wheel drive, 4-cylinder powered sports coupe that almost became the Ford Mustang. It later became the Ford Probe, and after the introduction of the 1989 Probe, Ford had a limited budget to develop the next generation Mustang. They came up with an idea to use the front-wheel drive CT-20 platform that underpinned the 91 through 96 Ford Escort and Mercury Tracer. They did change course when they learned that General Motors had abandoned a plan to develop a front-wheel drive Chevrolet Camaro and Pontiac Firebird, but instead opted for a new rear-wheel drive configuration for those corporate twins with a nice optional V8 engine. This led Ford to keep the Mustang as a rear-wheel drive vehicle and develop the 4th generation Mustang on a limited budget. By 1989, development of the Mustang project was underway. Codenamed SN-95, the Mustang project relied heavily on input from consumer clinics and opinions from Mustang owners. The project leaders had a total of 36 months for development, along with a budget of $700 million. $200 million was earmarked for design and engineering. Compared to the $3 billion spent on the 1986 Taurus, the Mustang project was a lean operation. There were many stylistic revisions along the way. Eventually, there were 3 full-size fiberglass SN95 mock-ups that were sent for executive review in the autumn of 1990. The Bruce Jenner concept was deemed as being too soft and stylistically too weak. There was a liftback Rambo-themed Mustang, which was deemed too aggressive and mean. Finally, there was the Arnold Schwarzenegger design that had the best overall look and was deemed to go to production mostly unchanged. The Schwarzenegger design was a middle-of-the-road look and had some really nice retro Mustang themes. These included the side scoops, the Mustang logo in the front grille, and the classic Mustang long hood and short deck proportions. The SN95 Mustang was made available to the buying public as a 1994 model and initially was available as the base and the GT with more variants to follow. The SN95 Mustang certainly utilized a lot of great traditional Mustang styling cues. Things like the long sculpted character line that ran along the profile of the vehicle, and those nice air scoops that were built into the rear quarter panels. And when compared to the Fox body Mustang, there was a more steeply raked windshield that gave the vehicle a much sleeker look. There were 2 body styles on offer, a 2-door convertible and a 2-door fastback coupe. Note that the hatchback body style found on the Fox body was no longer offered since there was declining interest in that type of body style with American buyers. This design was really well received by the automotive press and the buying public. The classic combination of the long hood and short deck, along with the modern styling cues that harked back to classic Mustangs, really contributed to a design that was fresh and still looks good even today. There was a slight design revision for the 1996 model year, with the most noticeable change evident in the taillight design. The older Mustang's horizontal 3-bar taillight design was swapped for a more appropriate 3-bar vertical design that more closely matched the original 1964 taillight look. The taillights, along with a new honeycomb grille, new alloy wheel designs, and different available color combinations, were the only changes made for the 96 through 98 model year. Otherwise, the design remained the same, and truthfully, there was no reason to give it a huge revision. This body style was popular, and people really liked it. For the Mustang's 35th birthday, the design was given a thorough rework. Dubbed as the New Edge Mustang, the look was now much more angular and sharp, emphasizing that the Mustang was ready for Y2K. The headlights were now a composite one-piece design. The pony emblem was on display front and center in the grille. The angles continued on the profile of the vehicle, with a heavily pronounced line running through the door to form the larger C-scoop right behind the front doors. At the rear, the taillights no longer have a body-colored border, but do retain the 3-bar vertical design. The rear bumper is much sharper than before and contributes to the overall angular design aesthetic of the New Edge Mustang. Which body style do you guys prefer? Leave me a comment in the message section and let me know. Are you a fan of the 94 through 98 body style, or the New Edge style from 99 to 2004? Since the 1999 redesign, the New Edge Mustang didn't really get a lot of major updates, with only minor stylistic changes along the way until the last year of production, which was 2004. For the 1994 redesign, the rounded exterior look made its way into the interior as well. Gone was the blocky and square design of the Fox body, and in was the modern aesthetic of the newer generation Mustang. The interior was also designed to have some classic Mustang DNA. The most notable feature was that of the dashboard and its twin cowl design. The look paid homage to the 1969 through 1970 Mustang interior, but also resembles the 1963 through 1967 Corvette interior. Either way, the interior nicely managed the relationship between retro and modern design elements to give owners a polished look. Gauges were easy to read, and the HVAC controls sat on top of the stereo system. Seats were comfortable for most, but may not be the best for spirited driving. The steering wheel was an attractive design and was flanked by cruise control buttons, if so equipped. The overall look of the interior was certainly sporty and functional. All of the controls were well marked and within easy reach, giving the driver and passenger a feeling that they were sitting inside a cocoon. Even though the New Edge 1999 Mustang had a brand new exterior design for the time, the interior remained mostly unchanged. There were new stereo designs, but overall the look was very similar to the 1994 through 1998 dashboard. For the 1994 through 1995 Mustangs, there were several engine choices available based on model. The base model received the 232 cubic inch SX V6 engine, which produced 145 horsepower and 215 pound-feet of torque. This base engine was much more powerful than the previous Fox body base engine, a 2.3-liter 4-cylinder engine which made 105 horsepower. If you stepped up to the GT model, you received the 5.0-liter V8 rated at 215 horsepower and 285 pound-feet of torque. This 302 cubic inch small block V8 had been in production in various outputs since the late 1960s. For the 1994 model, it had been massaged with a new intake manifold design, aluminum pistons, and Ford's EEC electronic engine management system. In fact, a GT coupe with a manual transmission could hit 0 to 60 in around 6.8 seconds. The Cobra was back for 94 and 5 and made 25 more horsepower than the GT model. Ford massaged the cylinder heads, roller rockers, valve springs, and upper intake manifold to help the engine breathe better and develop more power. Ford also developed a more competition-ready model with the 1995 Cobra R. This limited edition model received a special version of the Windsor 351 cubic inch engine, making a stout 300 horsepower and 365 pound-feet of torque. For the 96 through 98 model years, the engine lineup was changed, but the base SX V6 remained. It sported the stiffer block from the supercharged 3.8-liter Thunderbird. Horsepower was up a little bit to 150, while torque remained the same at 215 pound-feet. To the disdain of many Mustang purists, Ford dropped the 5.0 engine for the 96 model due to the mandated introduction of the OBD2 diagnostic system and tougher fuel efficiency regulations. The replacement was the single overhead cam 281 cubic inch modular V8, which was touted as getting better MPG and using a more sophisticated and smaller engine design. The engine produced the same horsepower and torque figures as the 5.0, 215 horsepower and 285 pound-feet of torque. The modular V8 utilized various bits of technology to reduce noise, vibration, and harshness. Ford engineers gave the engine lightweight pistons and connecting rods, a deep skirt block, deep head bolts, and 5 cross-bolted main bearings. The alternator, AC compressor, and power steering pump were now bolted directly to the engine to reduce their perceived vibrations inside the cabin. For the 1998 model year, the engine received an updated exhaust system and changes to the headers to produce an additional 10 horsepower and 5 pound-feet of torque. The 96 through 98 Cobra models received an all-new, hand-assembled, aluminum, 90-degree, dual overhead cam 4.6-liter V8 making 305 horsepower and 300 pound-feet of torque. This engine sported a cross-bolted block, split port heads, and big valves. It gave the Cobra a 65 horsepower boost and a much more free-revving nature. Here's a recap of all of the engine options available for the 1994 through 1998 model year Mustangs. Also, for manual transmissions, there was a T5, a world-class T5, a T45, and a TR3550 used for the 95 Cobra R. 94 and 95 models, both V6 and GT, received the AO-DE 4-speed automatic, while 96 through 2004 models received the 4R70W 4-speed automatic transmission. The New Edge Ford Mustang models saw an increase in power across the range. The 3.8-liter SX engine was able to breathe better via a new intake manifold design and cylinder head improvements to increase the horsepower by 40, giving the base Mustang an output of 190 horsepower and 225 pound-feet of torque. This increase in power gave the entry-level Mustang coupe with a manual transmission a 0 to 60 time of roughly 7 seconds and helped to make the base car much more engaging to drive. As for the GT models, the 4.6-liter modular V8 gained 35 horsepower for 1999 through the use of cylinder heads with reshaped combustion chambers and provisions for larger valves. The heads also housed a hotter camshaft with higher lift and longer duration. When combined with the revised intake manifold with straighter runners, the engine was able to breathe a whole lot better. An improved crankshaft, connecting rods, and thrust bearings also helped change the personality of the engine, transforming its character into a freer revving, more performance-oriented unit. The GT now produced 260 horsepower and 302 pound-feet of torque. When combined with the standard 3.27:1 performance rear-end axle ratio, the Mustang GT Coupe with a manual transmission was now able to accelerate from 0 to 60 in around 5.4 seconds, much improved from the previous model. The 1999 Cobra models used new tumble port cylinder heads for better airflow and a new coil-on-plug ignition system. Power increased 15 horsepower from the 1998 model, now officially rated at 320 horsepower and 317 pound-feet of torque. Note that early Cobras were leaving the factory without the claimed 320 horsepower. Evidently, they were fitted with an improperly finished intake and mufflers that were too restrictive. Ford offered to make good on the fixes to increase the power, but some buyers had placed a class action lawsuit against Ford. This discovery prompted Ford to stop sales of the late 99 Cobras and the 2000 model year Cobras altogether. The fix from Ford worked in 3 ways: a new, less restrictive exhaust system, a new intake, and recalibration of the engine's ECU. The Cobra was brought back into the lineup for the 2001 model year using the same engine but making all of the claimed 320 horsepower. For 2000, Ford reintroduced the Cobra R model for 1 year only. The 2000 SVT Mustang Cobra R was the fastest factory Mustang ever produced at the time. It featured an SVT-developed naturally aspirated 5.4-liter V8 that produced 385 horsepower, enabling the Cobra R to go from 0 to 60 miles an hour in a scant 4.7 seconds. For 2001, Ford revived the iconic Bullitt nameplate for just 1 year. The Bullitt featured a 4.6-liter V8 that was tweaked for better airflow and power. Revisions included a cast aluminum intake, twin 57mm bore throttle body, and high-flow mufflers. Power increased over the standard Mustang GT's engine, with the Bullitt producing 265 horsepower and 305 pound-feet of torque. After the success of the 2001 Mustang Bullitt, Ford launched another living legend specialty Mustang with the 2003 to 2004 Mustang Mach 1 model. The Mach 1 infused the new Edge Mustang with a ton of 60s-era pony car influence. The functional shaker hood recalled the previous Mustang's original shaker hood design, and the 4.6-liter dual overhead cam modular engine originally designed for the Cobra was fitted with a dual-bore 57mm throttle body, cast aluminum intake manifold, and high-flow 4-valve cylinder heads. Exhaust manifolds were port-matched to the heads, and unique mufflers were fitted to give the Mach 1 a unique sound. Introduced during 2002 as a 2003 model, the SVT Cobra now came fitted with a Terminator V8 displacing 4.6 liters of Eaton supercharged goodness. This engine was built using a cast iron block for toughness and durability. The forged steel crank was fitted with forged H-beam connecting rods sourced from Manly. The compression ratio was dropped to 8.5 to 1 with the use of revised aluminum heads and dish-topped pistons. Power figures were impressive, 390 horsepower and 390 pound-feet of torque. This blown twin-cam engine built revs intensely in first and second gear, allowing the Cobra to accelerate from 0 to 60 in only 4.5 seconds. For the new Edge Mustangs, most of them came with either a T5, a T45, or a TR3650 for the manual transmission, with the really high horsepower models getting a T56. All automatic equipped models got the 4R70W 4-speed automatic transmission. There were lots of really special and limited edition Mustangs available, and this is a quick run-through of all of the models that were available for the SN95 generation. First, we're going to start with the 94 through 98 Mustang Cobra. And with the debut of the redesigned SN95 Mustang for 1994, SVT provided its unique blend of performance-enhancing features to really make the 94 through 98 Cobra special. The interior featured new white-faced gauges and a Cobra inscription on the airbag. The 1994 through 1995 Cobra's 5-liter V8 engine delivered 25 more horsepower than the mainstream Mustang GT, thanks to modifications to the cylinder heads, roller rockers, valve springs, and upper intake manifold to increase the engine's breathing ability. Other performance enhancements included 17 by 9-inch wheels and 13-inch front disc brakes. Later in 1994, the first SVT Mustang Cobra convertible was offered. It was initially available only in red, and it was selected as the official pace car for the 1994 Indianapolis 500. A very special model that came out in 1995 was the Cobra R. SVT replaced the Cobra's 5-liter engine with Ford's 351 cubic inch Windsor small block that was re-engineered to produce 300 horsepower. Gasoline was stored in a 20-gallon fuel-safe fuel cell. Tremec 5-speed manual transmission was installed. There was no back seat, radio, or air conditioning. Fog lights were removed that allowed air ducts to get cool air onto the front brakes. There were heavy-duty progressive rate springs, thicker stabilizer bars, and a front strut tower brace to help improve the handling. Only 250 of these vehicles were built, and they were all available only in white, each with a unique center-rise fiberglass hood tall enough to clear the engine and induction system. For the 1999 model year, Ford released the Ford GT Limited Edition 35th Anniversary model. This appearance option package came on 2,318 GT Coupes and 2,310 GT Convertibles. They were available in black, silver, white, or red, and featured a body-colored hood scoop, rear spoiler, side scoops, and rocker panels, a blacked out panel between the taillights, 17 by 8 inch 5-spoke aluminum wheels, and a special interior. The New Edge SVT Mustang Cobra was the first Mustang to offer a unique, independent rear suspension system. There was also a move to 13-inch Brembo disc brakes, ABS, and standard all-speed traction control. The exterior featured a unique front fascia, Cobra emblems on the fenders, forged alloy wheels, and now leather seating surfaces were also standard, and they were available either in medium parchment or dark charcoal. The 1999 Cobra had a pinch in the exhaust system to clear the independent rear suspension's lower control arms and not scrape the pavement. This caused the engine to not produce the advertised 320 horsepower. Due to this, 8,000 1999 Cobras were recalled. 2000 was a very special year for the Mustang because this was the introduction of the 2000 Mustang Cobra R. This was a true lightweight extreme performance machine. It had track-capable brakes and was stripped of speed-restricting features like the rear seats, air conditioning, and radio. Recaro racing seats, a unique Cobra R wheel design, side exit dual exhaust system, a fuel cell, front air splitter, and high-mount rear wing hinted at the car's capability. Just 300 of these Mustangs were produced, and they were all made in performance red clear coat. For 2001, Ford introduced the Bullitt Mustang as a throwback to the original 1968 movie Mustang that bore its name. The Bullitt was based on a 2001 Mustang GT, but featured a 4.6-liter V8 that was tweaked for more power. Ford installed a firmer, lowered suspension for tighter handling, as well as some special exterior and interior enhancements. There were unique wheels, a free-flowing exhaust with rolled tips, the performance handling package, a performance brake package with 13-inch front rotors and red-colored calipers, Bullitt badging, and a brushed aluminum fuel door. Each Bullitt was factory serialized to identify each 2001 as a limited edition model. There were a total of 5,582 Bullets sold, and they were available in 3 colors: dark Highland green, black, and true blue. The 2003 to 04 Mustang Mach 1 featured a functional shaker hood scoop along with other signature design cues inspired from the 1969 Mach 1 model. This Mustang had some serious style. Even the logo closely resembled the original Mach 1. Changes to the exterior included a matte black hood stripe, black front air dam extension, a black rear deck lid spoiler, predominant rocker panels, body side scoops, and classic-looking 5-spoke wheels. The Mach 1's engine was special, using the 4.6-liter dual overhead cam modular engine originally developed for the SVT Cobra, and special Mach 1 mufflers that were tuned to create a unique sound. The Mach 1 had wonderful performance. The 03 to 04 Mustang SVT Cobra really turned up the performance factor for the SN95 based cars. With 390 supercharged horsepower, the SVT Cobra was now capable of some truly exciting 0 to 60 and quarter-mile times. The exterior featured redesigned front and rear fascias, a new heat extraction hood, special rocker moldings, and side scoops. When combined with the nice-looking 5-spoke wheels, the 03 to 04 Cobras certainly looked special. They were available as either a coupe or convertible. There was also a total of 1,000 SVT 10th Anniversary Package Mustang Cobra convertibles built for the 2003 model year. They were available in a choice of 3 colors with unique badging, 17-inch alloy wheels, and red painted brake calipers. The last special edition model we're going to talk about is the 2004 40th Anniversary Mustang. The Mustang's 40th anniversary and final year of SN95 production produced this special edition model. Available in both standard and GT editions, it consisted of 40th anniversary badging, exterior colors of either black, Oxford white, or crimson red with special stripes, and a deluxe parchment interior that included brushed aluminum foot pedals, gray metallic inner doorknobs and shifter bezel, and painted center console inserts. In 2004, engine production of the 3.8-liter SX engine fell short of sales demands, so Ford needed to get a solution for the 2004 model year V6. They ended up using a 3.9-liter version of the same SX engine that produced a little bit more horsepower. The SN95 was the last car based on the Fox platform. The platform was heavily revised for the SN95, so Ford called it the Fox-4, with the 4 indicating a 1994 release for the SN95 models. A major improvement was the use of 4-wheel disc brakes at all corners for all models. Weight was up when compared to the previous generation Mustang by around 200 to 300 pounds, but the SN95 was much more tough structurally. The coupe was 56% stiffer in bending and 44% stiffer in torsion, while the convertible was 76% stiffer in bending and an impressive 150% stiffer in torsion. Coupes had open section roof rails replaced with more robust closed members, the frame rails were sturdier, and an inverted U-beam was added to link the B-pillars together. There were various other reinforcements made by engineers in a dozen other places. Convertibles added a transverse beam between the rear wheelhouses as well as an underbody X-brace to reduce cowl shake and twist. Similarly, GTs received diagonal bracing between the firewall and front strut towers to stiffen the chassis. Out of 1,850 parts related to the platform, 1,330 of them were heavily revised or redesigned for the Fox-4 platform. The GT's handling was improved over the previous generation car due to the use of progressive rate springs, longer control arms, new spindles, anti-roll bars, and an overall chassis stiffening. The rack and pinion steering had a 14.7:1 constant ratio gearing with a solid on-center feel. McPherson strut front suspension with tubular stabilizer bars delivered good handling control, and the multi-link rear suspension was also tuned for good ride and traction capabilities. For the 1999 New Edge Mustang, Ford again revised the chassis to improve the car even more. Side rails were fully boxed with insulating foam in the rocker panel areas. Better floor pan sealing also helped lessen road noise. Convertibles gained underbody rail extenders designed to reduce structural shudder. The front and rear tracks were now identical at 1.4 inches. Despite the adoption of firmer springs, smaller diameter anti-roll bars, and retuned shock absorbers, there was no reduction in ride comfort or handling. GT models also switched from variable to linear rate coils for more poise on the road. The use of aluminum twin-piston calipers shaved 10 pounds of performance-robbing unsprung weight from each front corner. The first independent rear suspension system in Mustang history was installed on the 1999 SVT Cobra. SVT engineers devised a short, long-arm rear suspension system that could directly bolt in place of the 4-link live axle setup that had been used on Mustangs since 1979. It used unequal length lower control arms, upper toe control links, high-rate coil springs, and a 26mm anti-roll bar. All of these bits were mounted to a tubular steel subframe that would bolt up to the same points as the pairs of leading and trailing links located on the live axle. The setup used an aluminum differential housing from the Lincoln Mark 8 coupe that was altered to have Cobra-specific half shafts. Some Mustang enthusiasts claim the geometry of this IRS system is not ideal and that the wheels don't have enough travel. Some owners have even installed a live axle in place of the independent rear suspension on their Cobras. There were a lot of different options available for the SN95 Mustangs. Generally, V6 buyers got smaller wheels than 8-cylinder buyers, but there were options and special packages that would allow you to get a larger diameter wheel. The Mach 460 sound option for the Mustang put out 230 watts of RMS power and 460 watts of peak power. In 2002, the Mach 1000 stereo system became available. It offered a total of 1140 watts, 6 subwoofer amps, 4 subwoofer speakers, 4 mid-range tweeter speakers, and 2 10-inch trunk-mounted acoustic suspension subwoofer enclosures. Do any of you remember mini disc players? Yes, those were also available on the Mustang for a limited time. There were a lot of really nice colors available on the Mustang models, with one of my favorite being the 2001 Dark Highland Green on the Bullet Edition. However, because it's such a vibrant car, there were some really cool colors to choose from. While formally listed as an available factory-ordered option, the SN95 Mustang convertible hardtop has set to be a very rare item. They were only available for the 1995 model year, with some customers getting their hands on prototype models and 499 Mustang Cobra convertible hardtops being produced. If you're looking to purchase a used SN95 Mustang, there are some things to be mindful of. First, if you're buying an early model car, 94 or 95, check the clutch cable to make sure that it's in good condition. Early model 4.6 liter V8 engines have a plastic intake manifold that has certain weak points that can crack or break. The solution is to get a new intake manifold that has an updated design. If you're having idle issues, it could be your idle control valve. If the power windows aren't working correctly, you'll probably need to change out the power window regulator. The 4.6 liter 2-valve modular V8 has a design flaw, and sometimes spark plugs do blow out of the heads. The best solution for this problem is to get yourself a time cert kit and reinstall a new spark plug in the affected area. Early SN95 6-cylinder engines have a reputation for blowing their head gaskets. A head gasket repair is usually labor-intensive and expensive, so be mindful of that. If air is only coming out on the defrost setting, it's because the vent selector works off of vacuum pressure. Look for a thin plastic tube coming off of a junction box above the brake booster in the engine bay. That tube is what supplies the vacuum for the vent selector to change vent positions. They are known to get brittle and break due to weather, heat, and age. If you're noticing an oil leak by the oil filter, it could be the gasket for the oil filter housing. Do you own or have you owned a SN95 Mustang? Leave me a comment below and let me know what troubles or issues you ran into. After all of this information, what's my verdict on the SN95 generation of Ford Mustang? Well, I give them 8.5 out of 10 burnouts. There's 2 body styles to choose from, a wide selection of engines, and some really nice limited edition models. Which model of the SN95 is your favorite? Leave me a comment below and let me know. Guys, thanks so much for watching. Please have a wonderful day, hit that like and subscribe button, and we'll see you for the next episode of Stick Shift Stories.